Anyway, welcome, friends. Welcome to the end of the Forge of Fury. We have for the past
Hey, wait, real
sessions.
quick, Rob.
Yeah.
Is our volume on?
Yes, your volume is absolutely on.
Cool. Just making sure. Sorry.
You all should know that's an absolutely fair question to ask, given the number of times I've left you on mute for extended periods of time. But yes, welcome to the Forge of Fury. This is the module that we ran for the last however many sessions. I actually didn't go back and count. Something like 9 or 10, I think.
Something like that.
It was quite a few. And today, what we're going to do is going to be a wee bit different. It's the same thing we did at the end of the Sunless Citadel. We are going to go through the dungeon. We're going to recount our own adventures because there are a lot of folks who didn't get to see all of it. And we're going to go room by room. We're going to check out the encounters. We're going to spoil all the spoilers, so spoiler alert. And we're going to sort of talk from a game design perspective and as experienced role players about what we think about the module as written, as well as what changes I made to it. But before we do any of that, I would love for my wonderful players to go ahead and introduce themselves. We're going to start on the bottom right this time. Jeff, who are you and who is your character?
Hello, I am Jeff Holland, aka Still Tired and Angry on TikTok and
Ooh, early plug. Very, very good.
Yes. I play Calder Creed, resident shadow sorcerer, and otherwise just pile of so many so much pathos and so much trauma, and just should be in the therapy is adventuring.
Adventuring's kind of like therapy.
A lot more things die.
Kind of. There we go. Okay. Let's go to Jen. Who are you? Who is your character?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Winterrose. I'm the Swedish Geek Ball and, all other places. For the first half of the module, I played Clarion, the bard, the half-elf bard. And for the rest of the module, I played my current character, which is Krita, the goblin ranger, and her giant medium-sized frog, Stinky.
It really was kind of like right at the halfway point of the module, too. Like,
Yep,
both in
really
terms of
was.
how the module is designed and in terms of sort of raw time that happened afterwards. Up top, let's go with Gail. Who are you and who's your character? Oh, I got
Hi,
you
I'm
just as you have food in your mouth, of course.
I'm Gail, also known as Olivia. I have been playing Charlotte, the Abjuration Specialist Wizard, with her familiars, which I am going to miss. But I had a lot of fun being a not-so-squishy wizard through the Forge of Fury.
Yeah. I really liked that particular aspect of the dynamic. Everyone's like, this is a blind character we must protect. And it ended up being kind of a source of frustration for Charlotte a couple of times. And finally, M, who are you and who is your character?
I'm one silver key on everywhere and everything. Or silver key if one silver key was taken. I was playing Lord Durshard, a Eladrin of varying seasons warlock. So, yeah.
And with that, if you're in chat, go ahead and say hi. Unlike our normal game when we would save all the question and answer until the end, I feel like this can be a little bit more cash, as nobody ever says ever. This could be a little bit more casual, a little bit more, you talk to us, we talk to you. We'd love to interact with you. Your chat will pop up and be visible on the VOD. So please do go ahead and participate. We really enjoy it. With that in mind, we're going to jump over to the game board. And here we are. My camera's a little bit off again because this is a very professional stream. Yep. So the Forge of Fury was originally a 3rd edition module. Yeah, it is designed as sort of a kind of a pseudo sequel to the Sunless Citadel. So it was a very natural progression for us. We did the Sunless Citadel first. We did this one second. Always interesting to me when the cover art has significant spoilers on it. Oh yeah, there's clearly a black dragon. It's got kind of a very unique profile.
Well, to be fair, the new one, the new cover art in the Yawning Portal is a lot less spoilery.
Is there any way we can get an image of that?
Which image are you looking at? I can pull it up.
The new image of the Yawning Portal?
Where it's the Duergar in front of the actual forge.
Oh yeah. I've got that somewhere.
So it still has some spoilers, but less significant spoilers.
But you go into the campaign expecting there to be a forge. It's in the name. Like, that's not spoilery.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Just love the mostly naked elf lady on the original one. She has no armor class whatsoever.
There's definitely that image definitely exists inside Fantasy Grounds somewhere, but I don't know exactly where, and I don't want to waste the time on looking for it. But yes, it's a great picture of a couple of gray dwarves in the forge, kind of looking back at you. That's a really good one as well. Not quite as spoilery. I agree. So the first place we started was the town of Blasingdale. Yeah.
Right.
Once we started the module proper, yes.
Yeah, and Blasingdale is a sidebar in the book. It's not a fully fleshed out area. I threw out all of the NPCs that were in here. It's very, very generic. This module is designed to be slotted into basically any campaign like it was.
The name of the town was Blasingdale.
Yeah, Blasingdell. Blasingdale.
Literally just a boring fantasy name.
Pretty much, yeah. I wonder if that's intentional. Like they have, Sir Miles Barrick, the human noble that you all just took to task. And so all of that was just kind of session 0, get to know each other. Session 1, get set the scene kind of thing. Like I said, it takes up 2 paragraphs in the module. So I want to move swiftly on unless anybody has anything in particular about that early interaction that you all wanted to recount or talk about.
We have a question here from Gail Stronghammer.
A Gail Stronghammer, I see.
Never has asked any questions here before.
Sure.
First time for everything.
Anyways, they ask, how did your expectations of leveling at the beginning of this module differ from what happened?
You had told us all coming in that we were at level 3 and we would be getting to 5 by the end of it.
Yes. And that's more or less what happened. I awarded you a level earlier on through a totally homebrewed little puzzle encounter that Clarion ended up actually solving. And that accelerated your progression a little bit. But not that much. I think leveling up to 6 on the way out is a good place to be. I definitely wanted you to stay level 5 in case you had to fight the dragon at the end. Because level 6, just like with the Roper, if you had fought, and we're getting ahead of ourselves, we'll talk about the Roper later, but if you had fought the Roper at level 5 instead of level 4, it would have been a very different fight.
Oh yeah.
And the jump from 4 to 5 is so massive, and it's a big part, I think, of this module and how it runs.
I wouldn't know, would I?
I should be sharing the original map of the Stone Tooth that you all got by kind of using Swoops as kind of a bat cartographer.
Although did a great job.
This being
Swoops was MVP. Really.
Absolutely. I love seeing familiars, just in general, I love seeing familiars being utilized effectively because they are an often underrated part of being a caster. Yeah, you get this creature that can yes, there he is. And you had one with blind sense, which was great. So this is where the module proper starts, with this map right here. And I wanna take you through some of the choices that you had. When we got here, you ended up taking option B up on this map. Yeah?
Yeah.
That's where
Yeah.
the sort of vent is. So let's start with option A, the map that you more or less completely bypassed. All right, that's where we're going to start. But I want to
Okay.
talk a little bit about each of these options because the module doesn't give a whole lot of ideas on how to go ahead and drop these hooks. The smoke is an obvious one, right? You're going to gravitate towards it because it's an easy landmark. The front door is an obvious choice, so obviously you're going to gravitate towards that. If you had told me specifically that you were climbing the mountain for some reason, I would have given you a chance to stumble on D, which is the hidden tunnel that you ended up exiting out of, or attempting to exit out of at one point.
Isn't that C?
Creeper's entrance.
You're right, that is C. What's D? Oh, D is just the hilltop. It just says there's a beautiful view here and there's nothing up there. I have the book too. I'm looking at it. And then
I just love
finally,
the fact that like the very top of the mountain is gorgeous, useless, but
Yeah.
gorgeous.
yeah, it does actually say the view is spectacular. This is a quote. The view is spectacular, but the hilltop is otherwise unremarkable. No entrance to the fortress is found here. Like, why mark it on the map then? But that's okay.
Oh, I know exactly why they would mark it on the map, and it's like an earlier editions thing. So in 3.5, for instance, there was a prestige class that was all about like experiencing things that have never been experienced before and shit like that. So like they're like these particular class is constantly hunting like the best flavor of the thing that you've never had before, or like new experiences like the sunset on New Year's on this specific place. So
Oh,
it's
they
probably
sound
tagged for that
awful.
reason.
They
Well,
sound like
the
the
inte-
person I'd accidentally kick in the middle of the night during long
that
rest.
class in 3.5 was a prestige class that gave you spells, but it was like all about like new things, and you could manipulate energy like magic and do something specific based on like these like obscure shit that
I
you
could
had to
also
like travel to.
I could also see an argument for like more, how shall I put this, deliberately outdoorsy concepts like a druid or like certain types of druid, rangers, etc. Barbarians certainly just all willing to like, no, that's a mountain, I'm gonna climb it.
Yeah, totally. The whole because it's their argument is probably why they did that. And for a while, when I was first reading through this module, I mixed up the peak of the mountain with the place that had the smoke coming out of it. I had to read it a couple of times to and then of course look at the map to see that it was two separate locations. And here's the thing that really confused me. I really wanted to try to at least give you the option of option E.
Mm-hmm.
Option E would be to use the exit that you all ended up getting at the end to go in as level 3 adventurers into the stone tooth underwater and pop out immediately in the dragon's lair. The module actually provides for this possibility.
Interesting.
That's why when you were all sort of digging around for information in Blasingdale or whatever it was called, I mentioned specifically there's a swamp, there's a lake out there in the swamp that's freshwater that like has clearly some motion going on in there. So like I did not want in any way to direct you in that direction, but I wanted to give you something to latch onto if you wanted to go that way.
I mean,
Like-
that's a good idea.
How would this game have been different, this whole campaign, if you had somehow gotten through, you know, that particular entrance?
I wouldn't have been the only one to die.
I'm sure we would have had to do a story thing, right? Like, I'm not going to TPK you with a CR7, you know, Black Dragon when you're 3. But I think that doing some kind of like negotiation from a much higher position of power, Like maybe the dragon would have used you in some way or something along those lines. It would have been very interesting. We didn't go that direction.
I was gonna say, it doesn't. I flipped to the page about night scale. It doesn't say anything about like how to scale it down if your characters got in here at the beginning or not.
No, there is no scaling down. This is not that kind
down
of.
dragons. You only scale up dragons.
And theoretically, if this was a if this was going from Sunless Citadel to Forge like it was here, theoretically the player characters have fought a dragon once already. Yeah.
Right.
Like they had the Caltrix fight.
Wormling,
Right.
not a dragon.
Listen.
Maybe.
Second edition was rough. They didn't give a shit about what you thought, how you felt, or what your character class was. You was gonna die.
Okay.
Yeah, but even in this like updated for 5e version, there's not even like a footnote.
So
Because you're not even a footnote.
I am now sharing the map that you mostly bypassed.
Yeah.
Okay? You didn't bypass all of it, but the vast majority of this map you just completely circumnavigated. That's not the right term for that. Circumvented, that's the word. Circumnavigated means going around.
We did go around it.
So
We argued our way around it at that. We did talk about going through the front door. It was an argument, like many of our conversations throughout this entire game was.
And that is
And
actually
my
where I want
frogs
to start.
agree.
I want to start with where you all did enter in before we talk about what would have happened if we had followed Laura's plan of going through the front door. Hey, there's a front door. It's right there. Just go through the front door. And I want to see, because that's like there's a lot of really good game design packed into that encounter that we missed because of course you all kind of went in the back door and murdered a whole lot of orcs in this area. Yeah.
We didn't even get to complete the genocide.
No.
I do remember when we were up at the chimney, I sent Swoops in.
Right.
Swoops was like scouting the area for us. I'm like, it's definitely not a forge, it's a kitchen. Nobody's in there right now, flying around. And it was literally like, I remember Lore and even Clarion and even Calder were all like, hey, we're nobles. Why don't, you guys were all talking about, let's go through the front door. Let's go talk and try to be diplomatic.
And
it was
talk so badly.
I remember everybody in the party was agreeing to go do that, and then the DM called for one more perception check, and Swoops noticed the humans behind the bars in the next room.
Right.
Yeah, but they were being loud.
Down.
I do remember that collective sigh from everyone, and I was like, "Well, there goes that
There it
plan."
went. Yeah.
And I just wonder, like, what if Swoops hadn't rolled well enough?
Yeah, that's true. You probably would have gone for the front door if you hadn't seen that, because I remember that being the deciding factor. Yeah, there are a couple of commoners down there in Area 6, and again, like I wasn't sure, but Swoops has that blind sense, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that they were concealed in shadows doesn't really matter. And then they start being loud because once they're noticed, I guess, by a bat, I don't know. But I really liked, though, the sort of stealth attack, yeah?
Yeah.
Like, this dungeon is designed to be a slog. It's designed to be a grind where you fight through waves of orcs. And here you all are, like, coming down the chimney like the Santa Claus of murder and just cutting throats.
Do you mean Santa Claus?
Yes, that's
you
right.
mean lore? There was no we here. There was lore.
Listen.
And honestly, like, only the fact that you all kind of barred yourselves up and paused for a moment, if I recall, after that.
Yeah, yes.
And that's when you were discovered, and like the ogre came and Lore beat the shit out of the ogre, and you all kind of made your way directly down into the Glitterhame. We'll talk about the traps and stuff that are up here in a second. But I'm my map right now is covering the whole of the map that you actually experienced in this dungeon.
Yep.
You made all the right moves essentially, and and manage to sneak your way down into the Glitterhame without having to deal with all of the orcs. I thought that was pretty good.
So the front entrance we would had to fight through the whole map. Where does the orc tunnel enter? It says area 21.
The orc tunnel enters down in the Glitterhame. We will get there.
Oh, so we could have bypassed this whole level.
Yes,
we
if
found
you
the orc
had
tunnel.
if you had somehow found the, well, there goes my ring light. God damn.
Fine.
Oh,
Beep.
no.
Technical difficulties.
Spoopy.
Although apparently, if we had gone in the orc tunnel, we would have had to. Oh, that's where the troglodytes come in. Ah, I was wondering.
Oh.
Technical
Because
difficulty.
when we were down in the Glitterhame, we found the evidence of the troglodytes, but we never ran into them. It's there in the orc tunnel.
Mhm, yeah, I remember.
Oh, Halibane, I'm using a ring light too. So I get you.
I don't have a ring light. I literally have two like work lights connected to like photograph umbrellas. One here
Yeah.
and one here.
If we're talking lighting, I have no fewer than 5 lights around me, mostly pointed at the green screen. But the key light, the light that is illuminating me directly, is the ring light. Without it, all you got was background nonsense. That's what this is a stream of. This is a stream of us talking about our
Stream
technical
about
specs.
lighting and how to get your camera set up good.
So yeah, I do want to back up though, and I want to get all of your opinions on the encounter here as described. Now the module gives a few options for what you can do once you are here and you've found this place. One of them is to wait it out. If you had just stayed in your camp, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and actually grab that encounter.
Yeah,
So-
one end of the trail.
Yeah. Where
They
is
attacked
it?
or are confronted by more than one. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
So it says here, the characters might choose to observe the path for some time before braving the Stone Tooth. When they arrive, 2 foraging parties from Great Ulfe, the ogres, tribe, are searching the nearby hills for loot. The first party of 4 orcs returns 2 days after the characters arrive. The second group, 3 days after that. And you could totally just sort of spy on them and see their comings and goings. That was definitely a direction I thought you might end up going.
And again, I could, if we were a more like rogue or ranger heavy group, I could definitely see us doing that. But all of us are spoiled rich kid. All of us were spoiled rich
Well,
kid
rich
arcane
kid,
casters.
Yep.
Oh man, okay. So it says even if we did intercept those 2 parties, took them as hostages, it says here specifically they won't negotiate for their return.
Nope.
But then the paragraph under it, the characters might disguise themselves as orcs using the captured gear.
And that is something that Jeff thought of at one point.
Yeah.
Jeff did indeed think to I think it was alter self that you used.
Yeah, I used disguise self.
Disguise self.
Unfortunately, that got thrown out the window because we ended one session with the end of the orc fight, and we began the next section with the ogre chase.
Right,
So there really
right.
wasn't a moment to do anything with
That's fair, because the ogre goes, oh look, there are these 5 mangled bodies where orcs used to be.
And I was prepared to lie through my teeth to tell them where the humans went.
That probably
Wait.
would have been a good social encounter to have. I agree.
Does Calder speak orc?
Nope.
That ended up
I was
being a
gonna say.
problem. Now I remember. That's right. We asked that exact question.
Charlotte was the only one who spoke orc. Yeah.
You guys were gonna
Larian
message it
got
out.
Orcish as as a language he over the break, so he could speak Orc as
So,
well,
yeah, okay,
if I
so-
remember. Yeah, I should probably open up his character sheet.
So
How do,
I'm gonna talk a little bit about the end of the trail, where you would have gone if you had gone straight to the front door, and I'm just curious as to how you would have responded. And in fact, it might be fun off stream sometime to run this encounter with level 3 your characters and just see how it might have gone. That might have been fun.
No,
but
he took Draconic instead. So no, he couldn't speak.
I've got some box text that we never got to in game. Go ahead.
My solution for what I was going to my solution, if I was ever asked why I'm not speaking in Orcish, was to lie through my teeth.
It says
I've been taking these correspondence courses and I need to practice.
And in fact, actually, no, I did read this box text to you because Swoops did get close enough to see the two orc guards who were kind of complaining about their boss, right? That was the thing.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
I thought that the two orc guards complaining would have been a perfect location for a Hamlet reference.
Yeah,
You're absolutely right. That would have been a perfect place.
Wark and Thark.
One of them start talking about how he saw the ghost of his dead dad.
Yeah.
Hey, you went to college. Go talk to him.
Oh, too good. So if those orcs had seen you, their response is not to engage you. Their response is to run away screaming. And so here's where we're at. I'm going to read this just verbatim. The orcs are well prepared for a frontal assault on the mountain door. They followed the sequence of activity described below to the best of their ability, unless prevented or otherwise interrupted by player characters. Round 1. After sounding the alarm, the sentries in Area 1, whose names, by the way, are Wark and Thark, which I really love. One of them sounds like a chocobo call.
Are they the only named randos?
I
think so.
think they are. There are some like Dwerger later that end up having names, but I think those are the only like randos, yeah.
I feel like because there's two of them, you could also set up like a "My brother says only lies."
Oh no.
And what they do is they run down to Area 2 in round 1. Now, I never thought that was realistic. They are orcs. They have 5 HP. I expected them to be dead long before they had a chance to run. But if they ran in round 2, the orcs in Area 4, so there are orcs up in Area 4 that is kind of a barracks, and you see those little triangles there?
Yeah.
Those
The
are
arrow
arrow slits, yes. Which you would have had to run your way through.
I did have a plan for those, for something like that anyway.
Let me... There we go. So, round 2, the orcs in Area 4 fired any exposed characters in Area 1 if they've been alerted by the sentries. Wark and Thark flee through the door into Area 3. So they head towards this bridge, and I'm actually really sad that we didn't get to do anything with this bridge. It's another kind of iconic encounter in this particular module that we didn't get to. In round 3, Wark and Thark cross the rope bridge, and the orcs in Area 4 keep shooting at you. And essentially, so at round 4, they go into Wark and Thark go into Area 5, where the rest of the orcs that you murdered in their beds, and wake them up and bring them in. So you all should be fighting waves of orcs at this point. You're dealing with the archers. You're dealing with trying to get in, and then it goes all the way up to round 12. I'm not going to do all of it. But the general idea is they all kind of swarm you, and then they cut the bridge when you try to cross.
Ooh, ah.
So that's
what happens.
That also a shortcut down to the Dragon's Lake?
Let me see what it says, actually. I'm going to click on the rift.
3.
So, let's see.
Rope bridge.
On a failed save, the character plummets almost 200 feet to the underground river below and is swept away.
So, yeah.
It literally does not give any mechanical consequences. It's just enjoy a new character sheet.
Yeah,
or maybe we'll come up with some story way to bring you back.
Yeah, isn't 200 feet the beginning of when water starts feeling more like
That's
like
terminal
concrete?
velocity in
Yeah,
D&D.
fall damage maxes out at I think 12d6.
Oof.
You can live.
No,
Oof.
it's like 20. It caps out at like 20d6.
20d6, yeah.
Yeah.
You can
That
live.
would only be 19d6.
Yeah.
Your
So yeah.
corpse is swept away,
gonna
is what they
roll.
should be writing.
I feel like it should be D12s at some point.
But yeah, it's so that was what was in store, and then the ogre comes and fights you there instead of where you fought it,
Yeah.
and you end up basically fighting the entire. I just saw a gigantic, massive dice roll.
There's 19d6 for you. 69.
69.
Nice.
Oh, nice. Well done.
Wow.
Nice.
Well done.
Wow.
Nice.
I'll look at it because at the moment that's not actually on my screen. There it is.
Nice.
Absolutely fantastic. This is a very serious stream.
So good.
We're all consummate professionals. Listen.
So that was the idea there, and I'm curious your reactions as to the encounter as written, like just really fast. Sentries run in, orcs kind of swarm you, and then of course there's that very significant environmental hazard, a couple of secret doors. How do you feel about missing that particular encounter?
Like, it would have been fun to do, but I'm not, like, I can't miss what I've never seen.
It's
Yeah.
definitely would have been more hacky slashy.
I feel like it would have been more morally black and white too, because we would have come up, we would have tried to diplomacy, they would have not gone for it and just started attacking,
Yeah.
and therefore it would have been a bit more like, on your own head, be it towards the orcs, rather than the kind of like, because we snuck in the back door, killed them before even trying to talk, like
Or freeing prisoners.
rescued prisoners who turned out to have gotten themselves in their own mess by hunting people down just
And
because
the
they were
worst
orcs.
people, just like in...
So like I like the setup, but I like how we got a lot more morally gray with how things ended up going.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, yeah, the orcs would not have talked, and that might have been a source of frustration. Like, they specifically, like, in the module, do not negotiate under any circumstances. But I do think even Clarion would have been like, okay, now that they're shooting arrows at us from behind a wall, like,
Well, the thing
either we're gonna run away.
yeah,
Go ahead.
if the talk breaks down, if they're not negotiating, that's something entirely different. He was upset that he wasn't even giving the opportunity to negotiate with what he is aware is a sentient and sapient creature, because it's Clarion. And to be honest, given the opportunity, if there was, hot orc in that mess, maybe, it just,
There wasn't.
he was trying so hard and failing so miserably at trying to be what he considered decent. So poor Clarion died before he could even manage.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
We are. That death is a little bit further. We seem to keep gravitating toward the Roper fight.
Let's move on and get closer to it.
So we'll do that. You didn't do a whole lot up in this orcish area, but there really wasn't much there. There's a trap up here that's like a gas thing. When 20 pounds of weight is placed on the pressure plate, the statue. Oh, it's one of the dwarf statues. So one of the themes, as you may have noticed, is that angry dwarf statues are usually traps. Like,
Figure that one out.
We didn't catch that theme until like the third or fourth one,
right.
and we
And-
missed them.
And you skipped a couple of, like, this trap you didn't do, but this is the first of the angry dwarf traps. I love a theme, and I love, like, by the time you get to the end of the dungeon, if you're still setting off these angry dwarf traps, it's kind of your own fault at that point.
We're doing it because we want to see what happens at that point.
So yeah, I really
At what
liked
point
that.
At what point does it turn deliberate? Yeah.
But really, this was intended to be just a slog fest, and you got through most of it, and managed to assault a poor little old lady orc
who was a
You mean
jerk.
you mean a priest of Grumsh?
Yeah, potato.
Cute little old lady who actively has pulled her own eye out.
And this was an
I'm
interesting
more
one.
upset on the we killed her. It's like no, that was me. I won't. It was mostly
She-
a team effort all around. No, the priest, the Eye of Grumps was mine.
There was, a lot of people missed a lot of times trying to attack that character. It was
Literally
very-
every time.
yeah. And then there were the first Sturges here. So this is an encounter that I really liked, and it didn't go down the way quite it says in the game. In the module, they say, hey, what's her name? The priestess, whose name is Burdug, is supposed to kind of open the door, bring the Sturges in, and you have to now fight orcs and Sturges at the same time. That
she
didn't
died
happen.
before she could get to the door.
That didn't happen. Yeah, you did not allow her to get to the door.
I
That's
remember
why that was
fire.
like the nature of the Sturges encounter immediately after the door gave me that impression.
Yeah.
Well, and we at this point, Clarion still had his zombie, so we sent the zombie in first, and
Yeah,
Sturges were like, "We can't eat this."
That's how the butler died.
That's
again.
right.
That's how we lost our dear butler.
You're a
No,
little
we
bit
lost him later on when he scooted down the river.
you're a
Yeah,
little
no,
bit low volume, Jen.
Rip Jeeves.
But no, the thing was, we sent the zombie out to like trigger any traps or anything, and the Sturges hunt warm things with blood, and so they didn't attack.
Right.
There.
And
Kind of
then we-
smart, actually.
Yeah. Well, it took us an embarrassing long time for us to realize, oh right, sleep is just end encounter when it comes to Sturges.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. There's also you can see this sort of gated area up in the north part of area 10. Another spot for orcs to line up and shoot you from the other side of bars
They
with
tried to do that.
arrows. And yeah, I do remember they showed up there at one point. And then there is this wonderfully useless room to the north. I love this room. I knew that you could not resist this room. This is the one time that Charlotte took damage in the entire module, I think.
Hey.
I'm happy for the experience to fuck around and find out.
Hey, I have a question. Did we ever get a perception check on those strange rug markings on the ground? Are those people? Like,
You
I
did.
don't think we ever got a perception or nothing.
I'm pretty sure I said yes. Those are skeletons on the ground.
Yeah, but you also zoomed the map in extra because you wanted it to be bigger.
No, not yet. That's
No. It was this time that you did it because we couldn't, because the skeletons
Yeah.
were like 4 to 8 squares long. We're
That's-
like, these are giants, obviously.
That's
That
not
makes
yet.
sense.
That's later. That was the only map that I expanded, and we'll get to this. The only map that I expanded was the Glitterheim. This map was read as written.
I was role playing extra hard and didn't even look at the surroundings as Charlotte walked up to the door.
Either way, we were dealing with very, very large my guys.
Yeah.
So we did not notice that they were dwarfs because they weren't dwarf sized. They looked like
They were very
people.
big.
They were unreally big.
So the first dwarf trap is a gas trap. This second one was fire. Like napalm, if I recall properly, something similar.
Alchemist fire.
Alchemist fire, that's right. That's what it's called. It's not
Greek
napalm.
fire.
That's sci-fi stuff. And then you had this nice wide staircase heading down, which you had to take fairly quickly because you didn't clear out the orcs, right? And though you had taken out the ogre that the shaman and the ogre that leads them, these are orcs. It'll take them a little bit of time, but they'll sort out the pecking order again pretty quickly. That's what orcs kind of do in Faerun. They kind of once they don't have a leader, they figure out very quickly who's the next leader going to be, though there might be some bodies in the process.
Also, the return around on that process is largely very inconsistent because for years the elven defense mechanism of how to deal with the orc problem is assassinate the leader, and then you're good for the next decade or so.
And if you had killed a certain number of orcs, I would have probably broken the rest of them up into roving bands, and that would have been it. That said, I threw a lot of orc bodies at you that weren't in the module, and we'll get to that as well. So overall, the Mountain Door, for like from a review perspective, for folks who like really like crunchy tactical combat, I think this is a great encounter, a great series of encounters. I think this is a great location. I don't think it's the best location for this group, and I'm kind of glad you bypassed it. What do you all think?
Yeah.
I'm
I
in
feel
time.
like I've been.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go.
No, go ahead.
I feel like I'm going to answer the same way I did last time that we asked a question very similar to this. So, lather and repeat.
I think we would have handled the situation fine. I know that like that's the thing when it comes to so many spellcasters of so many different abilities. We probably would have like we probably would have handled the encounter very differently from how we did it. But obviously we would have killed them in different orders. I don't see the result changing that much because like even though we met them out of order, we still fought a large number of orcs. We still fought the two bosses of this area, and we dealt with that problem. And we dealt with both of them pretty handily. Lore took the ogre 1v1 with 0 diff essentially, plus the orc escort.
Yeah, I feel like you would have made it through. There are a couple of environmental challenges like the bridge that would have been fun. I know you all would have had a fun time describing what happened on the bridge if you had gotten there. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like the way we went is a really good sort of middle ground. There was a good amount of combat, but also like that combat would have taken at least one whole session by itself, probably spilling into another.
Yeah.
Like the instructions that I get in the module go all the way up to 12th round. How many combats have you ever been in Dungeons and Dragons that went 12 rounds? It doesn't happen very often.
Never. Like I have never been in a satisfactory combat that lasted more than 6 rounds.
So
yeah,
the Glitterheim, which I'm now sharing the D&D map or the DM map with you so you can see the whole thing at once. The Glitterheim is simultaneously one of the strongest parts of this module and, as written, one of the weakest. I love this location so much. I love the multiple ways that it can be navigated. I'm going to back up so that it can see the whole thing. I love how the multiple ways it can be navigated. I love the sort of feel of the pseudo Underdark. The problem is the physical map is teeny tiny. Like itsy bitsy. Imagine this except printed in this size of book. This is a massive, and it's not even a whole page. Gail is showing it right now.
It's half a page.
It's half a page for this map, this gorgeous location with dwarven burial grounds and sinkholes and waterfalls and giant lizards and all sorts of stuff is a half a page, and it's a damn shame. Even this version was way too small for my purposes. That's why this is the map that I went ahead and rescaled it so that each square is actually 4 squares.
Yeah.
So I quadrupled the area of this map to give it, I think, the epic feel that this area really deserves.
I do like how on our first run, if we didn't have the sinkhole issue, we would have bypassed most of this.
That is another weakness of this module that we will get to when we get there, because I had to kind of force that issue because of how the module is. That was the one bit of railroading that I did that I even acknowledged, like in the talkback part of that particular session. I had to railroad you into the Roper fight, and I'm not sad that I did, but I'm sad that I had to, and that's kind of a thing about this module that's a little bit.
I feel like you probably, like, the key for the big door was in there, right?
Yes.
I mean, that could have gotten us to the Roper fight just fine.
I'll point out, we never needed the key.
No, you had a knock spell. That's why, because I knew you had the knock spell, and that
We didn't we didn't use the knock spell. The ogre, the troll, and the orcs took care of it.
Well, we'll get there when we get there. So you first come down into this area. There are orcs above that are probably not coming after you immediately. We ended with you at the bottom of the stairs, and we started the next session with you at the top of the stairs because I wanted to show you that you had that other alternate route that you took. That's the giant corpse. In Area 15A, that was the dwarven corpse that looks like a hill giant corpse.
No, I'm still gonna stand firm on the last map, personally, whether or not you embiggened it.
Fair enough.
Those bodies are bigger than that body proportionally.
I like this little Area 15A. I like that you had to deal with Sturges and that it gave you a nice little place to rest, because this was your last real rest for a while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
We also, this is the time going that alternate route is what lost us the zombie butler. He fell in the river.
He fell in the river, that's right.
Fell in the river and couldn't get away.
Meepo almost got pulled away by that river, and we pulled him back out.
We would have seen him again. He would been, in a dragon lair.
Yeah, because that was this one. That was
Yeah.
the last long rest. So
I probably would have given Meepo another chance to try to get out on his way down through Area 16. I would have given him another chance to try to pull himself out. But yeah, it's entirely possible he would have gone all the way. And if we follow the river, so it comes down from Area 15. And now that you can see the whole thing, you can see the stream goes down and it goes south and it goes south. And then it finally goes down into this waterfall that goes down into the Black Dragon's lair.
What the hell is that giant lizard in Area 20?
Oh, we did not get any. Okay, so let's talk about
We
this
didn't go
southern
in that
area.
direction at all.
So, assuming you
Because-
come down these stairs, you have two main choices, right? You can go east or you can go south.
Toby lizard. Like, what the hell?
But I guess if you get pulled into the river, you get pulled along the river into Area 17.
Yes. You all went east and found this area up here. You see this little sort of knob up here? That is the tunnel that leads out of the Forge of Fury. If you had found that tunnel, this is where you would have dropped.
Cool.
So this is sort of the second entrance, or the third entrance, I'm sorry, at this point, that you could have got in. Now, you all went this way into Area 21, and we'll talk about that in a second, but let's move south into Area 23. So, actually, no, let's move south into Area 17, because that's where we never
we
went.
didn't
This
go
is an
there at all.
entire area we never went to. 17, 18, 19, and 20 is another area where it is kind of a combat-heavy, intense experience. It is a clan of troglodytes. I think at one point you encountered a smell that reminded you that there might be some things that live here.
Yeah, when we were
Right,
coming
yeah.
back up from the Roper fight, and we skirted around Area 25 and didn't head up towards them.
Yes. And it's a whole ass like little civilization here. So if you were to invade this troglodyte's territory, you would have not only had to deal with a whole bunch of combatants, but you would have also had to try to figure out what to do with the young ones and, the elderly and that sort of thing. And in Area 20, as you so astutely pointed out, there is a giant lizard, which is one of the sort of big early combat encounters if you go that way. It's a CR4, you're possibly still level 3 at this point. It might be a little bit of a challenge. Honest to God, though, I never expected you to end up in this area, and I was not disappointed. I think this entire troglodyte layer is an interesting side passage, I guess, but I don't really see it as being particularly interesting in the module.
Apparently, if you speak Draconic, you have an ability to, negotiate a little bit with the chieftain if it comes to it.
Yeah, we have several people in the group that speak Draconic.
We did,
think
that's
everybody
true.
did.
And it's possible like Meepo would have been good in that regard, because troglodytes and kobolds, I imagine, are at least a little bit understanding of each other. I'm not pulling that from any sort of canon, but given the way each of them lives, it makes sort of sense to me. But we didn't go that way.
we
It was just
bypassed
more
that.
grindy contact, or more grindy combat.
Yeah, we were in 21. That's where you had us see a few wandering orcs who hadn't seen us, and
Yes.
then our drow friend popped in, killed them, went away.
Yes. So Area 21 is the direction you went, and I was trying to establish in this module that you were not the only ones with an interest in finding the forge. So I brought in Kretha's band. I brought in this drow who had his own drow backup to try to sort of fight off the orcs. I wanted you to feel like you were in a race to the artifact.
Now,
As
is
it
that
were.
is that like race type feel like written into the module?
Not really, no. In the module, the Dwerger are already there. That was part of it. But
Right.
me bringing in other parties was not part of the module, no. That was not really part of the hook or anything. I thought that would make for a more interesting environment.
Interesting.
And more possible tie-ins to be diplomatic.
Yes, and also in a game where adventuring is not only fairly commonplace but also very lucrative, it seems, and this is a theme that's been in my games for forever. I feel like it's impractical to have only one group of adventurers go for any one particular prize in a setting where adventuring will turn you into one of the richest people on the planet. So having other people there, the drow who were gathering hands were only gathering hands as a sort of as a red herring. They wanted you to think that they were being hired by the village, when in reality they're drow. They want the forge for themselves. So I was kind of sort of trying to establish that sort of struggle.
Then we found some treasure in a fungus room, and then we moved into the proper Glitterhame.
The fungus room I was worried about because I know that mold and fungus is something that M does not appreciate
No,
in
thank
general.
you.
And yet you're the one that aggressively encountered the room twice.
I did.
I mean, there was some good loot in there.
Yes.
Well, so I mean, as a person who very rarely plays a character with any sort of greed complex, it's like, you know, I don't know. Half of the times when I make characters, I'm like, I made them with the items that they need and the ones that they want. Why would I need more?
Yeah.
Like potions I get, but like when it comes to like, but they'll give us 20 billion. It's like, what am I gonna do with that, really?
Especially in this game when you are all descendant of wealthy, powerful, influential families.
Well, but also when it's like there's like the difference between 3-5 and stuff with the like masterwork, whatever. It's like extra pretty, and like here's 200 different types of materials that your dagger can be made out of, so you can be somebody who's crazy and collects one of every type. They've done that in multiple games. It's a thing I do in those games. But it's like because it's just like dagger plus one dagger.
Yeah.
Yay. It's like, okay, so it's a dagger. It's boring. It's like there's nothing. It's like, why bother?
It's one of the reasons I like magical weapons with flavor rather than just being plus weapons. Like,
Yeah.
bonus math is good in the game, and it'll make you more effective, but it's better when it's something, when it's an item that does something.
The way I've bridged that in the past is just, instead of calling it a +1 sword, I'll refer to it as a sword made by X, and thus I make all, like for instance, all dwarven made weapons made by the dwarves are +2. All swords made by the elves are +1, but all of their bows are +2 because they are elven made.
Well, and this was the sword that we found, that Lore found on the fungus corpse, was indeed the first thing that we found with Durgaden's actual mark on it.
True.
Not just generic dwarven script. So it did have a plot tie-in.
And it was
Sure.
fancy.
It is fancy. Although my only point of order in regards to the sword is a great sword weighs 8 pounds and mage hands can lift 10 pounds.
Listen. D&D
We don't have
is a trash fire system. We all know it.
I thought
Yes,
I'm,
done.
So do they.
I
It's
thought
Dungeons and Dragons, not Dungeons and Logic.
that's fair. Hold on, I need
Logic
to
and
check
Dragons.
something.
I would play the shit out of Logic and Dragons.
Yeah,
Seems like a
10 pounds.
reasonable
You're not
game.
wrong.
Oh wow, there is
Maybe
treasure
it was
you can get.
stuck. Whatever. Use your imagination. God damn it.
I'm just looking at the art, my dude.
Yes. So
we
you
did
came
that. We
down
went down.
into the
Glitterhame.
Glitterhame. I really like the Glitterhame because it is immediately both gorgeous and dangerous, as Calder specifically found, as he sort of gormlessly like walks in. It's so beautiful. Oh, what are these snake things trying to bite me?
I think that was Calder.
That was Calder. Yes, you're absolutely
first
right.
time I used
I heard
Misty,
Clarion.
and
Oh,
the
sorry,
first
I might
time
have
I
said
used
that.
Misty Step.
Yes, that's true.
Because I beat them in initiative and just went, cool, teleport out. Let's fight this.
And so the Glitterhame is really nice, and you came down from the north and were about to exit directly to the east. So
Right?
this is kind of where I had to throw some railroad tracks on the ground, because it felt like you were all going to just bypass like all of the module. This area here, area 27, is another one of the big weaknesses, I think, of this module. That is a big iron door that, yes, the key is down the sinkhole where the roper is, but it's a DC 17
18.
thieves 18, sorry, thank you. It's a DC 18 thieves tools to unlock it. And
That
25
feels
string.
low.
it's fairly low for such a pivotal place, and it allows you to completely bypass the roper entirely. And I feel
So
like
literally, if the group contains a rogue
yes.
Or a wizard.
or
Yes.
a wizard, ignore encounter.
And you all had a knock scroll at least at that point, I think.
Oh yeah, we've had the knock scroll
And-
for a while. We got the knock scroll back in
the Citadel, yeah.
Well, and Charlotte has knock in her book.
Yeah.
Also
like,
fair.
Like I knew we were going into a dungeon, so of course my wizard
Yeah.
would have the spell knock. Are you kidding me?
It was amusing for a short time that you couldn't get through a locked door as a party, back in the orc lair, but like, yeah, there was never an issue for you getting in there. Now, I'm glad that we went through this the way we did. I like that the sinkhole opened up through a hilarious kind of like a hilarious comedy of errors where you know, lore gets pulled down and then crashes through the ground, and like I thought that was really great. I liked the antlion comparison that Jeff made with the roper, but like if I hadn't forced that encounter, you would have definitely bypassed it, and I feel like the module would have suffered for it.
Right, and then we
Yeah.
wouldn't have gone and seen the the graves at all, and yeah.
I watched a lot of review videos, like the one we're making right now, about this particular module, and a very common through line in all of them was find a way to force the roper encounter. Maybe don't put the roper encounter where it is on the map, but maybe put it somewhere on the other side, either before they get into the foundry or as they're coming into the Glitterhame. Use that encounter, but don't use it the way that they're using it in the module, because it's too easy to bypass. And it's iconic. Like, a roper attack is it's a very, very good. Well, let's talk about it a little bit, because we're coming up on that. We skipped a lot of this. We'll come back to the Glitterhame. Although I suppose we can talk a little bit about this dwarven area. We can talk a little bit about the flavor of that. After you fought the roper, you came up, you were in this area.
Well, I'm kind of curious as to one private curiosity.
Yeah, go ahead.
Given the fact that we are not monsters that robbed the dead, is there anything worth looting in that place?
I will
Oh yeah.
take a look right now.
Yes, the treasure in the dwarven sepulchres.
There is a warhammer that is not even magical. there's a gold ring. No, it would have been a very meager haul. You would have desecrated the dead for basically nothing.
Yay, we were good people and it was justified.
And it was pragmatically justified, yes. I like that you came to this area. I'm really glad that you came to this area. I think it really made the dwarf ghost encounter later much more powerful.
Yeah.
That you've already been in this area where fallen warriors are being very, very rapidly interred.
Yeah.
I really liked that scene with you all there.
Charlotte got to show off her dwarven historian side.
And Kretha was, at that point, still not very much enamored of dwarves.
No.
In fact, I don't recall you being overtly disrespectful here, but I'm sure Kretha was kind of like, oh, whatever.
I think she was actually the first one that, like, when Charlotte was talking about, like, reading the runes on top of the grave, she was like, you're going to rob them? And we're like, no. But I like how Kretha went there first, like, one, you're probably going to rob them.
Dwarves?
And two, this is a bad idea.
Jen at that time was very used to being the moral compass of the team.
Yeah, that was a very quick turnaround from Clarion to Kretha. So
yeah,
but I like the potential world building of it. Of
very developing at that point.
And
it made me think that Kretha had known someone who had robbed dwarven graves before, and those had been trapped.
Yes, certainly, I guarantee you, she would have known people who would have robbed dwarven. Actually, there's a possibility that she may have robbed dwarven graves before and then got in trouble.
They do tend to bury each other in their armor with their weapons, like
with a lot of money.
Yeah, with a lot of money.
Even a rusted warhammer is a hell of a lot better than a sharpened stick.
The Dwarven Afterlife explicitly states you take it with you, so... so whatever you're buried with is the stuff you have when you reach your afterlife. So
it's very Egyptian. So I think of a lot of like tomb curses and like
oh my goodness, yes,
spewing out of the sepulchers and stuff like that. Yeah,
I do think we would have gotten Charlotte would have gotten a little bit more history if we had actually cracked open one of the sepulchers, because it says here in the notes that 3 dwarves were buried with little finery, little funerary wealth. Durgaden's folk believed in honoring their dead with stone, not riches.
Ah.
So you would have tried it, you would have been like, oh, this is the point. Yeah. I like that. That's really awesome.
Cool. That means that actually tells a lot about, like, if one is familiar with the lore of Faerun, that like informs to how Durgaden was different and how his absence his absence could have affected later dwarven generations and so on.
And this is kind of one of the strengths of this module, but also something that's kind of a criticism I have of it, is that there's a lot of implied backstory. There's a lot of stuff that like, and that's good. Like it's a nice, rich, deep world. There's a lot of implications. I took those implications and made them more overt later through things like visions and ghost possessions and shit like that. But like, there's a ton of flavor here, much like in Skyrim, for example. And if the DM and the players are willing to go through and read all the books, it's a very deep and engaging sort of background plot behind the plot, as to how this citadel fell and what happened in the middle.
I'm a big fan of environmental storytelling. I love little things that tell a big story by their very presence. It is a lot harder to communicate that from a top-down.
It really is.
RPG map. So.
Well, that was not to skip ahead a bit, but when we finally got the dagger and Charlotte was talking with Durgaden, one of the things I was fishing for when I was asking, like, what do you want us to do with you? What's your 5-year plan? Was I was wanting to see if he was the type of leader who would take charge and like make demands and orders. And then Charlotte would have been the one to point out, like, hey, your leadership didn't turn out great last time.
Oh.
But he didn't. But he didn't point it out. He didn't try to take charge. He defaulted to what, like, Charlotte and Kretha were suggesting. And I like how that shows about him, too, as a leader.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's changed in his 800 years of being stuck in a dagger.
I will say
Maybe.
the unknown part of the flavor text that you just discovered about these dwarves wanting to be buried with stone, not riches, kind of to not, well, to use a pun, enriches the part where our ghost would not like let Kretha bury his gems with him, but wanted us to take them with, and we use them as part of our bargaining for sort of tried to use them as part of our bargaining for the black dragon. So that's kind of an unintended little
Through line.
Yeah,
yeah, I like it.
me too. I like how some of the best stories end up being totally like unplanned and spontaneous. It's pretty awesome. Sometimes the dice are the ones that tell the story, yeah?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, the
So-
roper.
So, yes. The ground cracked, you fell into the sinkhole. If you look to the north of this map, there is the spiral staircase that you would have gone down if you had chosen a different path. If you had turned south instead of turning east, you probably would have made your way down here without me having to force it. Because I imagine, like, looking back at the Glitterham map, I imagine you would have skirted south all the way down. This is the entrance was at the far south of the Glitterham. You probably would have gotten here on your own if you had taken that path. As it was, I had to force the issue. I blocked off the exit to this staircase and dropped you here. Most of this part of the dungeon, most of this map is nonsense. Every single room has nothing in it, and I hate that. I know it's necessary.
It would be easier just to make that all one large room, make it a single die check, and go. Then there's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah.
looking at this one here. Let's see, empty storeroom.
Technically, there is something in the old storeroom. It's just an ooze to fight.
Yes, that's true. There is a gray ooze in the old storeroom that you could have
Which
fought.
You took out.
I
yeah.
felt like that would be inappropriate given that you were about to face the fight of your lives. I knew that this upcoming encounter would be incredibly, incredibly difficult, so I tried very hard to not... Yeah, that ooze would have been insult before injury.
Well,
I mean, the benefits of having a safe area like that and like knowing that it was like you look in and there's nothing in here. It's the D&D equivalent of the hey, here's the armor store and the ammo store and the save point. Just I don't know, like
There are a
in
bunch of
case if you
potions
can
lying
take a
around.
basic ass hint.
Hey,
Well,
suddenly,
we did. We took
suddenly
a-
the music changed.
we took a short rest at the bottom of
Yeah, but I
it.
mean, like, this is a
Yeah.
place that, like, with a, like, if it had a door, then it's like, this is a safe to long rest save point area. That's how
Basically.
it would have translated to us as people who have done, like, gaming a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like
Yeah.
if you had left that room in, it would have been a bigger
No, it was.
in-game hint for there's going to be some fucking shenanigans.
I did
It was
leave
there.
the room in.
Yeah.
You explored it. I just described it as empty.
Yeah,
no,
we-
I
we
mean the
took
gray one at the bottom.
Oh yeah. The flooded storeroom. I
Yeah.
don't remember
Even
that
though-
at all.
No,
Yeah, that was-
I blocked
that
it
was
off
blocked-
as well.
Yeah, that was blocked off as well.
But there was a potion of water breathing and a potion of invisibility in there.
I dropped a potion of water breathing later on to make up for that.
Fair.
But if I recall properly, we were kind of...
That's why you kept asking me if we had gotten potions of water breathing.
Yes. One of the things in this module
No,
that I
'cause
really
you
like...
removed it from the module.
Because we know that we're gonna fight. We know we've done this module. We know there's a black dragon at the end in an underwater lair, right? So the module does include sufficient water-breathing potions for at least a couple of melee characters to be able to go down there and take the fight to the dragon if that's the way it ended up going. But yeah, in this case, I felt that the Roper encounter was kind of building to that was sort of the most important thing to me at this point.
And it took like an hour and a half to actually do the fight.
Speaking of
Yeah, we
the
started
fight,
the session with it.
Yeah.
And then we ended the session in Area 34.
there we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
That little kind of mostly circular lump That's it right there. Yes, there is an image of the roper here as well that that Gale is currently showing. I am showing it as well. This fight, friends. Let's talk a little bit about this fight. A roper is a basically immobile. It's not actually immobile. It can move. It's just super slow.
Like 5 feet a turn or something.
Basically invisible. It's an ambush attacker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It has the highest armor class that most adventuring parties have faced to this point. And it has 95 HP. 93 HP. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. And this could have been a TPK. It could have been like I ran a bunch of simulations with this, and in 10 tries there were only 1 or 2 times when I was unable to hook anybody on the first volley of attacks.
Well, and then in the game you only hooked one of us, but it was the wizard. So.
Yep.
And more importantly, for the game, for the progression of the encounter, folks immediately attacked the tentacles. The tentacles have an armor class of 19, just like the roper does.
Thought I had 20.
I'm sorry, you're right, it's 20. And when you deal damage to the tentacles, it not only deals 0 damage to the roper, but it has infinity tentacles. It can only have so many of them out at once, but it has infinity tentacles. You sever one of them, it's just going to grow another one.
Well, I'm happy that we never wasted the effort.
A couple of you did, one of them being Meepo.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
yes.
But yeah, no, it was. I'm really sick because Charlotte got grabbed and put under the water immediately, and then somehow got a wonderful athletics check to get out of the grapple somehow.
That was another
That's
thing.
Goddamn magic.
That was another thing, by the way, that I took from
Almost
videos, from review videos and like retrospective videos, like this one. When you are using this roper in this particular game, if you are a DM and you are watching right now and you want to know how to run this fight, grab characters and drown them. This is supposed to be a brutal fight. Ropers are brutal monsters. They are supposed to be horrendous, and you can't just pull them all up to you and let them melee you to death, right? If I grab all the melee characters and pull them all directly to me, the roper can only bite one at a time, and they can all attack. So instead, you grab them and you hold them underwater and start dealing with drowning rules.
Although, technically speaking, drowning in 5 ed is a lot harder to pull off.
Unless you decide to try to cast spells while you're underwater.
Hey, that was the right call.
You're not
that spell
wrong.
killed that roper eventually.
It worked out, but like yes. Drowning is a thing that happens in minutes, but it adds drama, right? There's a difference between, oh no, I'm being grappled by a horrible monster, and I'm being grappled by a horrible monster and I might drown.
Yeah.
No, if I hadn't made that check, we could have lost a lot more people.
We could have lost a solid 100% more.
And let's talk a little bit
Although I
about
do like
Clarion's
how-
death. So Clarion the Bard was the victim of a natural 20 at the wrong time.
Yeah.
A natural 20 on the bite. So this roper, the damage that it does,
It's too many.
its bite does 4d8 plus 4 piercing damage, which is
Clarion was a bard, okay? It's not like...
which is a
Bards
lot.
aren't squishy, though.
But on a crit, you had a
Yeah.
better chance of surviving the breath weapon of that black dragon
Yeah.
than of surviving a crit from this roper. 8d8 plus 8. Like, that's an average of something like 40
That
damage.
was 48 plus 4.
Yes, but... Or 8d8 plus 4
Oh,
with a
okay.
on a crit.
Well,
But you're
so
right, it's
on a
8d8
crit,
plus 4.
It
not plus
doesn't
8.
multiply the static damage, so
Right,
it would just
right.
be 8d8 plus 4.
Plus 4, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Still a lot.
I was
But
about to say, it wasn't enough
8d8.
regardless.
That's
yeah, 8d8 is
Yeah.
more than a fireball. Like,
Yeah.
it's
It's more than a lightning bolt.
it's more than a lightning bolt. It's on the same, like I said, it's on the same level as the acid breath of the black dragon. So like that was
One
not
giant
a
breath.
death. Like that was a death that was a freak accident. If
Well, and we
if
had-
it hadn't been a crit, then there would have been death saves, and you would have healed, and like Clarion probably
Right.
would have survived.
Like Meepo was right there before Clarion cast Thunderwave and knocked Meepo away.
Yep.
But
Oh, Clarion.
Well,
But,
and
yeah.
remember, I had talked about that as I was working on casting.
Oh, yeah.
Is that Clarion was panicking at that point.
as
So
he
that would be
had-
the thing. He would go for the only thing he could think of at that time that could possibly deal massive amount of damage to what's got him.
Absolutely.
So,
and it did deal damage to the roper. It just wasn't enough. And like I was thinking,
and
like
it was
leading
a
up to it,
tentacle, so that didn't.
right? Well, but you were within because you were about to get bitten, so you hit the roper. It just wasn't enough
Yeah.
to kill it because they have gobs of fucking health.
They do, yeah.
But like
Yeah, it was like
Charlotte,
93.
yeah,
93.
like, Charlotte had failed an attempt to rip Clarion out of the tentacle. I think also Meepo used his turn trying
I
to.
think the lore
get the
wasn't
tentacle
able
off.
to do it either.
Yeah, like there were 3 different things that failed to get Clarion out of that tentacle before the fatal hit. Like
Yeah.
it was just the dice were not with us that day.
No,
Dice
and
were not with us.
the dice
and
were with the roper. Like that is when we did the rewatch the
really
next
rough.
Saturday. Like that roper rolled a dirty 20 or better on at least 4 or 5 saving throws.
Yeah.
It was like it was a nightmare encounter for a lot of reasons. I liked it for that because it really flavored the rest of the campaign. Like Clarion's
That's one way to
death.
put it.
Clarion's
If
death
we had
was
had
the
the spell
catalyzing
lines-
event.
Sliver.
Yeah.
Right? Well, and even because at the very end, it ended on the roper's turn because that's when the daggers went off. It's Cloud of Daggers. They take damage if they're standing on it at the beginning of their turn. The roper literally had Lore unconscious in its mouth, was about to kill Lore too.
Yep.
And then the dagger damage was enough to kill it. But it was like,
It
we
was
were
close.
so close.
Yeah. That encounter from a dramatic perspective could not have gone better. And there's a reason why it ended up being like pivotal for the rest of the campaign. And beyond. Like we're still going to be dealing with the consequences of this fight right here, you know, into the next couple of sessions.
And this was still day 1, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
from an
we hadn't-
in-character perspective, you had
We
not
had a
taken
long
a long rest since
So it was the
climbing
end
down
of
the
day
chimney.
one,
the
kind of
Sturges. The Sturge layer is where you took your last long rest.
Yeah. Climbed down the chimney, Sturge layer, took a long rest, came down here. We took a short rest
So-
between that.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is-
down here. So maybe this was like day 2.
Yeah, it was
Of 3
definitely
days?
working its way into day 2.
It would have been the end of toward the end of day 1.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night.
Oh man, there's a song that I didn't expect someone as young as
I
you to
love
know
that song
anything about.
So much, though.
When it comes to musical taste, I am an old man. Do not be mistaken.
That's entirely. You
Can
have
you
to be
not
a Billy
know?
Joel fan. Like you have to
Same.
be.
Give me some Steely Dan.
Um,
Anyway.
I want some Mark Roper doing some guitar riffs. Thank you.
Speaking of ropers, are there any other questions or
Not
comments
Roper.
about the roper encounter? I did drop the really quick. I want to mention. I think I dropped a potion of water breathing in the roper's gullet to make up for the one that was
Yes.
that you missed. But the parcel, there it is. The ring of spell storing, I think, is in there, and
Yeah.
I am hoping to see more out of the ring of spell storing from this group, because it's such a ridiculously flexible item in the hands of
Anybody?
4 casters. Admittedly,
Well,
Kreetha's a half cast, but like
But like, yeah.
but
no,
like being
heading
able to
in,
put
like,
pass without trace into the ring is also legit as hell.
And also maybe in the next module we're gonna have access to cleric spells to put in there. Just wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Also
Would
fair.
Creetha be able to use that? I would think that Clarion would have been more able to use something like that than Creetha.
Clarion being a full caster, it would have been probably better, yes, but anyone who can cast spells into that ring.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like Calder having access to metamagic gives him a twist on
That's
it, but
another
that's
thing.
about it.
And being able to give others access to metamagic by storing it in the ring with a metamagic attached to it. Like, the creative applications of Ring of Spell Storing with this particular group are damn near infinite. And I really hope that you all take advantage of that going forward.
And only gets worse the higher levels we get, because it can store up to 5 spell levels, and that doesn't even speak as to what happens when we start getting access to level 4 and 5 spells.
Yes, yes. And again, and that's the other thing, like, you leveled to 5 because of this encounter. And then, you know, Charlotte immediately begins dumping lightning bolts and converting orcs into smoking husks, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But probably after a break, we're coming up on that time. But like with lightning bolt, this would have not been. Go ahead and Gail, would you be so kind? Just go ahead and roll me 2 lightning bolts. So that's 8d6 and 8d6. Just roll me 2 lightning bolts really fast.
All right.
So that's 22 and 29 damage. You just dealt more than half of that Roper's health in 2 spells. And I happen to know, of course, that Calder, as we're going to talk about in a moment, picked up goddamn Acid Ball. And so, like, between the two of you, you could have dealt a massive amount of damage right at the beginning. It would not have been as climactic an encounter had you all been there. Yeah. Or had you all been level 5, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it didn't, and it wasn't impossible for us all at level 4. It was just like you said, it was a grueling encounter that could have gone either way.
Yes.
And like, frankly, it's a small miracle we only got away with 1 casualty. So
Yeah.
It was, yeah. And I mean, I legitimately at some point during that, I was drinking Fireball the entire encounter. Like sometimes I'll have a glass of wine or 2 while we're DMing. Or while I'm DMing.
While we're DMing.
Well,
yep,
yeah.
Part of it.
But like in this one, I was drinking straight up whiskey, because I knew there was a chance that this could be a TPK. Like I was preparing myself for the event of me slurring my way through a TPK.
I remember.
He took a whiskey drink. He took a cider drink. He took a lager drink.
Whiskey drink.
I took a whiskey drink and then a whiskey
And
drink.
Clarion got knocked down. Okay, cool.
Didn't get back.
Thankfully, I didn't get knocked
back
down until after the
but
stream
not
was
as
over.
Yeah, I was about to say, technically, Clarion did get back up, surprisingly.
You're welcome.
Kistrel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Tigress, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Highbane, obviously, still glad that you're still here. Friends, we're going to take a quick 10-minute break. We are going to deal with, after this, what I have been calling the Lost Session. As a video producer, sometimes footage gets lost or corrupted or something like that. It's just a thing that happens. An entire 4-hour session of Dungeons & Dragons was unfortunately lost to the ether. And even worse, it was the session directly after the death of a main character in one of the climactic encounters of the campaign. So when we come back from our break, we're going to do a little bit more of a deep dive specifically into that session.
Remember to record it locally.
So that I can use, audio to make a video of what happened during the lost session so I can finally start goddamn putting these sessions on YouTube again. So that's where we're at right now. For now, it is 7:35 p.m. Pacific. Go ahead.
Do we still have the video?
No. If I had the video, I would have posted it on YouTube already. That's the problem.
That's not what I mean.
Oh, okay.
The animatic.
Yeah, we have that.
Oh, that we do.
That.
Yes, I do still have the video from the argument, and that's a thing that will go up as well onto YouTube. Yes.
Yeah.
It's 7:35 p.m. Pacific. We will come back at 7:45 p.m. Pacific. Stick around. There will be a countdown timer. Thank you for watching up to this point. We still have a lot of dungeon left to talk about, so stick around and think about questions you might want to ask us. I want this to be a nice and interactive stream. See you in a few minutes, friends.